Hey. What's up? It's Thursday. The weekend is right in front of us. It's the recap lunch hour with me, Ryan McGuffey. And yeah, we got stuff to talk about. We got some updates in Washington regarding the Bears and Commanders on Sunday afternoon. I want to talk about the Bulls. A couple thoughts about them. I'll wait. They certainly don't deserve to be the lead story with the way they played last night. I want to talk a little baseball as the White Sox still remain managerless heading into tomorrow night's World Series. So, and as always, fire away. Sandwich, what you eating? It's lunchtime. Maybe you just finished lunch. I kind of dabbled in a little soup today. It's been a strange day. So, anyway, want to talk about the Bears and Commanders. 3:25 Sunday, as we know. Jaden Daniels missed practice again today in Washington. According to Adam Schefter, the team will attempt to practice him tomorrow. So I've been pretty adamant and consistent in my thinking that Jaden Daniels will not be playing on Sunday against the Bears and that it will be Marcus Mariota. When you miss Wednesday and Thursday of practice, that kind of confirms it to me. Even if he practices tomorrow, it would be in a limited role, you would think, which again, what's the rush to get Jaden Daniels on the field against a defense that is going to come out and do everything they can to bring him down? Not that other teams aren't trying to do the same thing, but when you look at the Washington Commanders, who are 5-2, they're the 2 seed as we sit here right now. They got the Giants after the Bears game. Okay, their schedule. We could talk about the Bears here in a second. But listen to this, they're going through their own gauntlet. The Bears are about to take on the NFC North here coming up. Here's what the Commanders have. They have at the Giants, then they're home against the Steelers, at the Eagles, home against the Cowboys, and then they get the Titans. That's a pretty tough month. And honestly, if it were me, I would say if I were coaching Jaden Daniels, I would not start him against the Bears. I'd use this as a week to get healthy. You look at the Giants, that's got to be a must-win for the Commanders at this point. And then hopefully he's healthy by the time they play the Steelers in 2 weeks. So what does that mean? Well, are the Bears poised for their 4th straight win? Well, it looks awfully good, but to me, I think Mariota. Here, William, I agree with this. It doesn't matter. Just play who's in front of you and stack some wins. Honestly, dead on, perfectly said. And that's what I think the Bears defense. Listening to, the Bears defensive coordinator today, I'll bring this up because I liked this quote that he had earlier today talking about what type of team that they expect to see on Sunday against the Washington Commanders. This is from Courtney Cronin. Bears defensive coordinator Eric Washington wasted no time expressing what's at stake for Chicago against the Commanders. Quote, "The challenge we have in front of us this week goes to the extreme. They don't give a damn who's lining up under center. They are going out expecting probably both. You got to prepare for both. I know Tyson Bagent runs a pretty good scout team, and he is the type of quarterback that actually fits that Commander system. So Mariota or Jaden Daniels, they're not changing the playbook or play calls because of who's under center. Jaden Daniels is a better runner than Marcus Mariota at this point in his career, but the offense remains the same, and the defense is looking to tee off and build off of what they've been putting together on tape, not just the last 3 weeks, the last 6 games, really. The defense has been solid from start to finish. I mean, they won week 1 game against the Titans. We know that for a fact. So, we'll see. My man, Mo Wallace, the NFC North, is it the best division of football? Well, all 4 of the teams right now are in the playoffs. So what's that tell you? I mean, all 4 teams, the Bears are the 7 seed right now. They do hold the tiebreaker as we sit here today over the Philadelphia Eagles, who are also 4-2. But absolutely, the NFC North. Isn't it fun to say that, by the way? Isn't it fun to say the NFC North is the best division in football after years of not just the division, but the Bears being, scraping the bottom of the barrel in the division? It's fun to be a 4-2 football team trending this way and in last place. That's fun to me. Bring it on. I can't wait for the NFC North to start playing each other. I mean, look at what we saw last week with Minnesota and Detroit. That was a playoff game. I mean, Minnesota had them beat. A last-second field goal by Detroit. And you're looking at, to me, two of the best teams in the NFC are Minnesota and Detroit. I think Detroit for sure. Chris Rocco, I feel like we can't go a week without talking about the 85 Bears still. Of course, I love the team. I look forward to a day in my life, I hope, where we can refer to another team that was really good. But you're right. Their 85 Bears defense never cared. If there was a backup under center, a starter under center, they'd knock them both out of the game and get to the third string guys. So, that's how this defense is acting. I think this defense is built like that too. Their idea, their plan, get to the quarterback, stop the run, and challenge them to beat you deep. No one in front of you, no one behind you. They're not even bend but don't break. I think this Bears defense is coming to punch you in the mouth, take the football away, and score if they can. So, we'll see. I think, look, the line, I mean, you see the line there, Bears -3. That line has moved significantly. I think it opened as a pick 'em. It was a -1 prior to yesterday's practice. Now that he's missed 2 practices in a row, the Sharps are telling you now this thing's all the way up to -3. You get 3 points for being the home team already. They're saying that the Bears are a significant favorite. The way it's not 5, 6, 7 points, but this to me tells you that Vegas says Jaden Daniels is not playing this football game, and it's part of posturing in the media, right? Like Dan Quinn's going to not tell you anything until he needs to. They won't label anybody inactive until they need to, which will be about 1:30, I believe, on Sunday afternoon. But we're going to know sooner than later. I think it's going to be Schefter. It's going to be Ian Rappaport that are going to let us know if Jaden Daniels is going to play this game. Look, it's a marquee game. I mean, this is CBS they flexed into this game with the hope that it was 1 versus 2 playing each other. So, to me, like, this might not be a popular opinion, but I think the Washington Commanders are still a really damn good football team with Marcus Mariota under center. So this is a big game. This is a really big game for the Bears off the bye to kind of pick up where they left off. I'd love this. I want this. I kind of expect to see some things from the defense. We got into this point where we understand what they're about. It's really about Caleb continuing to add to this right here. I would love to see Caleb Williams last 4 games after this at 74%. 1,000 yards, 9 tutties, and a pick. That's what I would like to see. We got some more questions coming in here. Let's get to them. Adam, what do you got, bud? If the Bears win this game in dominating fashion, will the national media finally start giving them the respect they deserve? This doesn't getting flexed into the 325, Adam, is already telling you they're getting more respect nationwide. I know that, some people don't really care about whether the Bears are playing at noon or 3 or 7. I like that the players care. I like that Cole Kmet last week said, I love being able to play at 325 when, the game of the week and you're being flexed into spots, because that means that people are paying attention and that people want to see the Chicago Bears. More people want to see the Chicago Bears. I personally don't care about whether or not the country likes the Bears. I don't. I'm more under the impression and thinking that let that motivate and fuel you. Let like Jalen Johnson, right? Like super motivated by not being on the top 100 as chosen by the players. And you make a case that he's the best cornerback in football. I mean, you can. The statistics right now are telling you he's a top 3 corner. So I would say, Adam, to answer your question, though, in dominating fashion, 100%. I think yesterday I said that I still think Caleb Williams, and I wish I would have put a futures bet on this 2 weeks ago. I think Caleb Williams is going to win Rookie of the Year. Malik Neighbors missed a couple of games with a concussion. If Jaden Daniels misses this game, Caleb, I think, passes him. And if Jaden Daniels misses more than 1 game, who knows? But Caleb is now even money. He's plus 100 to win the Rookie of the Year. Jaden Daniels, prior to coming on here, I looked, it was minus 115. So they already have him pretty much as a coin flip. And I think if Caleb plays well, he definitely, and the Bears get the win. And I don't even know if the Bears need to get a win, but if Caleb plays well and Jaden Daniels doesn't play, look at a couple weeks ago, Jaden Daniels won Rookie of the Week, and the Commanders lost. I didn't understand that. I mean, Caleb threw 4 touchdown passes in a dominant win, but to each their own. Michael, with Caleb playing better now, what is the next step in his development that we should see? Well, certainly not turning the ball over, which he's done the last few weeks. I like what he's doing. Like, to me, and I watched the All-22, which is like the coach's film. I like his presence at the line of scrimmage. I like what he's calling he's what the signals he's calling. I like that he's audible and checking in and out of things at the line of scrimmage. A lot of Bears quarterbacks in the past didn't have that autonomy. The fact that Caleb's a rookie and been able to do this is really good. I know he checked into a play in Indianapolis that he shouldn't have, but that's progression. Like that's telling you that he's getting better. I don't think we need to see Caleb throw for 350 every week to say that's development. What we need to see is Caleb stacking development on top of development. And sometimes that looks like 205 yards and 4 touchdowns or whatever it was. So he barely threw for 200 yards. You know, I don't even know if he threw for 200 yards, to be honest with you, against Jacksonville, but he was so efficient with the football. If it's not there, he's either scrambling or throwing it away. And I think early in the season when he was running for his life, he was trying to do some of that stuff he did in college and force things in. You can get away with it in college because the breakdowns are there and you have guys that are more talented. In the NFL, you don't have that. And he's learned that. And I think, you know, Michael, I think that's some of the progression that we've seen. Keep the comments coming. The Bulls, man, you know, like yesterday I said, I was curious about the Bulls. Well, I barely was able to see them. I had to go to an establishment to get them on CHSN. Like, my God, they look to me like the same old Bulls, you know. Cap has to in his recap, and check that out on our YouTube page. Yeah, Cap said the same sorry ass Bulls team. He didn't like Zach LaVine. Zach to me looked like old Zach. I didn't see a two-way player much of the time. I saw Zach kind of taking the ball into his own hands and taking the game into his own hands at times, which we've seen over the past few years has not been a good recipe for success. The one nice thing to see was Lonzo Ball back on the floor. I mean, Lonzo Ball playing a regular season NBA game, scoring points, dishing a few assists. Yeah, I think he played almost 14 minutes, 13:39, I want to say. And it was just, I mean, I'm still baffled that he's on the floor. Hopefully, you know, we'll see. Hopefully that continues and Lonzo Ball continues to add to this team. But it just didn't look good. And without Zion Williamson too, like it was Patrick Williams is a bum. He's just a bust. Like, he got paid 24 minutes, 2 for 7, 3 rebounds, 6 points. I mean, at what point is this guy taking the next step? You know, like, is he going to take a Kobe White step? I don't know. I know Kobe struggled from the floor last night, not worried about him. 4 of 13, 0 of 5 from behind the arc. Not a good game. I will say Josh Giddey looks like a dude. Like, he looks like a guy that should be, you know, running the point, making plays. He missed a couple free throws and an easy layup that ended up being a tip dunk. You know, if he had 25 over 25 points, rebounds, and assists, like a couple of us here at the recap did, you weren't happy about the missed free throws down the stretch because he finished with 22. So that was our best bet of the night, and it did not come through. But I don't know if anybody has any comments or what you saw in the Bulls, but like it looked similar to what we've seen. You know, they're in it in the first half. They come out of the locker room, they get blown out in the third quarter, and then in the fourth quarter, they traded buckets, and it just was the same old story to me. This team just doesn't look like they're on the same page or in sync. Disappointing because I thought, look, it's one flipping game. So, like, I'm not going to overreact too much, but you know, that's why Vegas has them at 28 wins. You know, that's why it's plus money to get 30 wins or more for the Chicago Bulls, because nobody understands what this roster is, and everybody's saying, show me. And I think the fans are too, and I totally get it. And, you know, we'll see. Like, the Bulls are just the Bulls. The White Sox, you know, speaking of, I'll take bad teams for 1,000, Alex. White Sox still don't have a manager. There was some thought that they would name a manager this week with the kind of the bye week before the World Series. We've had a full week between games. It's weird. It's almost like I forgot baseball is still going, and you got the biggest World Series in terms of market size and matchup that we've had in, God, I don't know. We'd have to go back and like actually come up with one. The Cubs being in it, but playing Cleveland. I'm talking Yankees, Dodgers. It's a showcase for the whole country. I'm looking forward to watching it. I am. I know we got some people here that have Yankees in 6. I think Cap is on the. Cap and I are going to have a little friendly wager on the series. I want Michael Kopech to close it down and get the final out for the Dodgers to win the World Series. So rooting interest there for a guy that I respect and has just been absolutely outstanding for the Dodgers. But the White Sox, at this point, we're sitting here at 1:15 on Thursday. This would be the day you would expect the manager to be named if they wanted to get that out before the World Series. So Major League Baseball and most sports, but Major League Baseball does not like when teams make big announcements during their marquee events, i.e. the World Series in this case. I mean, you're not going to dump a story that the White Sox are naming a manager on a Friday anyway. You wouldn't think, unless we've seen that before, but I don't expect that, which also leads me to believe, like, if there's no news, is Clayton McCullough, is he the guy in waiting, the first base coach of the LA Dodgers? And to me, it makes sense, right? Like you can't really name a guy who's coaching in the World Series. So Clayton McCullough, 44 years old, it's there. We're going to, Brian Anderson and I on the White Sox podcast, we discussed we discussed the list of candidates, and, Clayton McCullough makes sense. We've done a little bit of digging the last couple of days to try to learn more about him. And if he's part of it, we will kind of open that can up. But I thought there might be an announcement this week. I really did. So I guess we'll wait and see. I mean, the World Series could go into into next weekend for sure. I don't expect a sweep by any means. So this thing could go 6 or 7 games, which means now you're getting into right after the World Series. We have the GM meetings. There will be a White Sox manager in place prior to the GM meetings. Like, I'll put that out there. Like that's a lock. Charlie, I like Charlie. He wants to know about what's going on at the house. He wants to know about. You think that tile's good, man? Like, yeah, the brick wall. My guy, Dave Warden. Like, dude. Like, you just want to go find. He's the best. The best. The D&T Customs, man. They're out in the western burbs, far west burbs. I will put that stuff on my socials too, because I will be putting out a little gallery. We just did a big reno here at the house over the last few months, and phenomenal. I mean, he's as good as they get. So a lot of comments coming in. Appreciate a lot of Bear stuff, which, Raymond, you think after the World Series, totally get it. Like, at this point, there's 2 options. The White Sox name a manager on an off day of the World Series, possible, or they wait to make the call. There's been some articles. Sports Illustrated had a story the other day that one American League coach was told, don't get your hopes up, that it was kind of Clayton McCullough's to lose. Bruce Levine, my co-host on Inside the Clubhouse on 670 The Score, has long reported since September that Clayton McCullough is the front runner to get the White Sox job. So that story's been out there. And, I like the way that Chris Getz has actually handled this thing. And I like that we kind of have heard nothing. He's just like laying in the weeds. And I think that's the right approach. And I think there's been a lot of talk, a lot of chatter in the past couple of years from the White Sox, whether it's looking for a manager, signing players, trades, etc., stuff getting out. And I think in this particular sequence, and I like less is more here. Ray, especially if it's the Dodgers coach, I know you said after the World Series, it just makes too much sense. So a lot of candidates out there. The interesting thing is, I mentioned this earlier this week that is there a team that's going to like shock the world? We know the Reds just hired Terry Francona. Is there going to be David Ross, Craig Counsell type situation at the GM meetings where somebody just loses patience kind of out of nowhere and somebody's available that they didn't expect. That could change it. That can, a guy like Skip Schumacher, what's his status? He's manager of the year just last year. So as Brian Anderson said on the White Sox Recap podcast, you go from sugar to shit like overnight. So, like he's going to be a commodity. I think, will he take the year off? A lot to be determined in White Sox land. Then you got to get into the roster, which is a whole nother mess. And I think I don't want to throw up the lunch that I just had because the roster is an entirely different conversation. So, we can get into that at another time. Whew, a lot going on here. I love it. We're getting ready to head into the weekend. The weather's fantastic. Soak it in while you still can. We are sitting on the last week of October, which is absolutely insane. We're coming up on a big anniversary on Saturday, the 19th anniversary of the Chicago White Sox winning the World Series next week. I know we know for the Chicago Cubs. Can you believe it's been 8 years, by the way? 8 years already since the Cubs won the World Series. Seems like yesterday, and it also seems like 20 years ago all at once. I get upset, when I see like the World Series, when we see playoffs, and they don't include Chicago teams, and they haven't included Chicago teams in quite some time. Like at some point, like this city needs to flip the script and be better. Like there needs to be more accountability and expectation from our teams to be in these conversations late into October with baseball teams, late into the playoffs in January with football teams, late into August and May with hockey and basketball teams. We need that. The fans deserve it. The teams deserve it. And the organizations just need to be better. So, like when I flip on a World Series game tomorrow, we're sitting here talking about a manager search. Can we actually be talking about why we're disappointed a team got knocked out of the playoffs early for once? I would love that. Anyway, putting a bow. That's a topic that we will actually use maybe after the World Series. Can we actually up the ante for expectations around here as a fan base to some of these darn teams? Because I think, yeah. But Raymond, like your point, 41 World Series appearances for the Yankees. Fans are spoiled. Yeah, you know how many World Series titles they've won since 2005? The same amount as the White Sox, the same amount as the Cubs. But your point is valid because if you keep getting there, the Atlanta Braves won 14 division titles, and people in Atlanta are pissed because they only won one World Series. Give me the White Sox and Cubs. I don't think have been to 14 playoffs combined over the course of 200 years. Give me sustainability. We talked. That's why you do rebuilds. It was supposed to be sustained success. We saw nothing. Mo, you get it. Who's the third base coach of the Kansas City Royals? Probably the next White Sox manager. It's time. That crap has to stop. Like, I know it's funny, and it's honestly, like, you should probably read into it a little bit, but I mean, enough's enough. To our fan of the brick behind me, there's my guy right there, David Warden, the man. Charlie, you asked about who did the tile. That's brick, pal. Then we got tile over here too. That looks amazing. David Warden, my guy. That's him right there. Joined the recap lunch hour. So look at that. The lunch hour brings people together. I'll be damned. We'll have to do cocktail hour so you guys can discuss maybe the next big project at your house, Charlie. All right. Gonna put a bow on this one. It's been the recap lunch hour with me, Ryan McGuffey. Love talking sports with you guys. Happy to answer all the questions. We're going to have one more. We'll put a bow on it heading into a big weekend, a big showdown between the Bears, the Commanders. Again, I would expect that Jaden Daniels will be out. And we'll see tomorrow. We'll see if he attempts to practice, if he gets through practice, if it's limited practice. I just don't see a scenario right now where Jaden Daniels plays. I'm Ryan McGuffey. This has been the recap lunch hour. We'll have the rush hour later on today. That'll be out at 4 o'clock. Cap is going to be back next week from his vacation at the palatial estate in Jamaica. It'll be good to have Cap back in. We're going to have Kevin Byard bringing back Intercepted. We are going to have our guy, Big Dog, Mercedes Lewis, is going to be taping tomorrow afternoon with rookie wide receiver Rome Odunze. So look for that content over the weekend. A ton of stuff coming. Brian Anderson and I are on standby waiting for a White Sox podcast, the emergency podcast edition. If and when the White Sox name a manager, we will have that for you. Otherwise, we'll just have a standard podcast next week. They got the Cubs podcast, a ton of content on the Recap YouTube page. Check it out. Like, subscribe if you already haven't. And let's keep this thing rolling, baby. It's the Recap Lunch Hour. Have a great day.